Okay, we are on chapter 18 of the Vanderbeekers. The last chapter was one of the sadder ones, so hopefully this one will be better. Okay, 18. Jessie's eyes flew open. It took her a few moments to register her father snoring on the floor and George Washington kneading the blanket draped over her. Paganini hopped circles around Papa and nudged Papa's feet with his nose, ready to start the day. Jessie put her hand on her heart and rubbed. Today was Christmas Eve. Papa emitted a powerful snore and woke himself up. "What? Grab the coats," he said, bolting upright. He looked around confused, then saw Jessie staring down at him. "Oh, hey, sweetie, sorry about that. Was I snoring?" "Yes, Papa." "Did I say weird things in my dreams?" "Yes, Papa." They got up, folded the blankets, and started preparing breakfast. Jessie retrieved her list of things to do for Christmas Eve dinner and examined it while listening to the sounds of her family awakening upstairs. Her stomach was full of knots as she waited for Isa to come down. First, Lainey appeared, wearing her panda coat, talking to her stuffed bunny about what present she wanted for Christmas. Oliver stumbled into the kitchen next, his hair in disarray. Jessie felt Oliver's eyes settle on her as she pretended to review the dinner menu. "Mama's going to help you make dinner, right?" Oliver asked her. "I don't know," Jessie adjusted her glasses. "Probably not." "I think she should. It's Christmas Eve dinner," Oliver reminded her, perhaps unwisely. "I think you should be quiet," Jessie snapped. Papa spoke up. "Oliver, my beloved son." "Only son," Jessie grumbled under her breath. "This would be a good time for you to give your sister some space," Papa finished. Oliver shrugged and tried not to think too hard about what he had said wrong. He knew he would never understand. Hyacinth came downstairs with friends at her heels, followed by Mama's light footsteps. At last, Jessie heard the sound of familiar footfalls. Out of the corner of her left eye, she watched Isa make her way into the kitchen. Isa picked up Lainey and settled her on her hip, greeting everyone except Jessie. Jessie dared to look up at her sister. "What time do you want to start cooking?" she asked. "Whenever," Isa replied, avoiding her glance as she kissed Lainey's nose and put her down on the floor. Jessie tapped her pencil against her dinner notes. She felt uncharacteristically apprehensive. Should we split up the list? I can make the beef stew and the cheesecake. Do you want to do the roasted vegetables and carrot cake? Fine. If you'd rather do the beef stew, I can do the roasted vegetables. Whatever. Jessie hesitated. Does that mean you want to do the beef stew, or do you want to make the roasted vegetables? I don't care. Isa turned around from Jessie to grab a mug from the cupboard. So, should we stick with the original plan? Fine. Isa whipped around and glared at Jessie. Then she turned her glare to Oliver and Hyacinth, who had been spectators to the entire exchange, their gazes bouncing back and forth. "Well," Hyacinth said, to no one in particular, "looks like Franz wants to visit the kittens in the backyard." She grabbed a snoozing Franz by the collar and dragged him outside. Oliver's delivery was equally unbelievable. "Yeah, gotta run. Going to, organize my bookshelves." He trailed off, then scurried up the stairs 2 at a time. "Listen," Mama said, one hand braced on Isa's shoulder and the other braced on Jessie's. "We can see that you two are working something out. However, 7 hungry adults and 3 hungry kids are counting on you for dinner tonight. Papa and I will take the kids down the street to help with wrap gifts for the toy drive, so we'll be out of your hair. Are you two going to be okay? Should we think about a plan B?" "We can do it," Isa muttered. Jessie nodded mutely. The day couldn't be over soon enough. An hour later, the Vanderbeekers' home was eerily quiet. While the rest of the family was at PS 737's school cafeteria wrapping gifts for the toy drive, Isa and Jessie went about their dinner preparations without a word, every sound echoing throughout the kitchen. Jessie retrieved her beef stew ingredients mechanically. Her stomach felt squeamish and unsteady. The last time she had felt like this was when she ate the fish head stew Allegra's mom had made. "It does amazing things for your kidneys," Allegra's mom, the pediatrician, had said. "Even if I throw it all up," Jessie had thought, but not said. Jessie chopped the onions, carrots, celery, and garlic, put them in a bowl, lined up her seasonings, turned the burner on, added olive oil to a pot, threw in the vegetables, then beef, then broth, stirred, waited. Isa was doing her own chopping on the kitchen counter, her knife pounding against the scarred cutting board. Potatoes, mushrooms, bell peppers, and carrots were all dumped together in a roasting pan with olives, salt, and pepper. Isa set the oven to 400 degrees, shoved the roasting pan inside, and let the oven door bang closed. Then she stomped downstairs to the basement. Soon after, Jessie heard the sounds of Isa's bow striking her violin in a moody rendition of La Foila. Jessie collapsed onto a kitchen stool, arms crossed on the counter, head buried in her arms. She stayed there, unmoving, while the steam rattled the lid on the soup pot up and down, up and down. Hyacinth was the first one out of the school when the Vanderbeekers were done with the gift wrapping. The second she got home, she leashed up Franz and was back outside before her family even made it inside. Franz and I are going to hang out in the backyard. Okay, see you later. Bye, Hyacinth blurted out. No one questioned her, even though it was 35 degrees and the trees lining up on the sidewalks bent against the strain of the wind. Franz, listen up. It's time for our secret spy mission. First, they stopped by the alley where Papa kept the gray trash cans and blue recycling bins. Hyacinth sifted through a stack of boxes Mama had deemed too small to be useful for the move. After choosing the perfect one, Hyacinth and Franz made their way to the hydrangea bush in the corner of the backyard just beyond the big oak. Underneath the bush was a family of cats. Hyacinth had been feeding the mama a sleek black cat she had named Francesca Priscilla Arlington for the last 2 months and had salvaged a small wooden cabinet abandoned on the sidewalk for her to live in after she gave birth to her litter 6 weeks ago. The cabinet was lined with old fuzzy blankets Hyacinth had procured from Miss Josie and Mr. G. Franz tilted his head and one ear twitched. He stuck his face inside the cabinet and nuzzled 3 kittens, who responded by batting his nose playfully. Hyacinth stroked Francesca Priscilla Arlington and leaned down to kiss her head. For a moment, Hyacinth's resolve faltered, but then, as if her father was right next to her, whispering in her ear, Hyacinth remembered something. Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. Hyacinth took a deep breath, then lifted the little black kitten with the smudges of white fur on her paws out of the cabinet. We're going to take real good care of your baby, Hyacinth whispered to Francesca Priscilla Arlington. She placed the kitten in the box, removed her own scarf, a rainbow-colored piece she had knitted herself, and tucked it around the kitten. Kitten and box in hand, Hyacinth led the way out the alley and back up the brownstone's front stairs. She entered the first-floor hallway, crept along the walls on tiptoe, and looped the end of Franz's leash to the doorknob that led to their apartment. She kissed Franz on his cold nose. You must be very, very quiet, she whispered to him. Franz looked back into her hazel eyes, and Hyacinth knew in her soul that he understood the importance of this moment. Hyacinth commenced the final stage of her super spy mission. Up she went to the 3rd floor with the box in her arms. Her hand shook when she laid the box in front of the Biderman's door. She clenched a trembling hand into a fist, paused only slightly, and then banged on the door. Down the 2 flights of stairs she flew before grabbing Franz's leash off the door handle and disappearing into her apartment. The sound of her pounding heart so filled her ears that she couldn't tell whether the door on the 3rd floor had opened or not. All right, that chapter was still kind of sad because Isa and Jessie haven't become friends again yet. But I did like the part where she gave him the kitten. I thought that was kind mixed with nice. I cannot talk. Well, I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I hope the next chapter is even better than this one was. Bye, Hannah.